Have you ever wondered what your purpose, direction or major passion in life is? I'm Terry McKinnell and I'm an astrologer, and I have been studying this subject for some time. In this interview with Ross McNair, we are going to discuss your direction or passion or purpose, what the Indians call Dharma, and I hope you enjoy this video.
Can you explain a little bit about what Dharma is?
Very interesting subject, but Dharma is many things to many people. If you go and look at self-help books, they'll talk about Dharma this and Dharma that, and businesses will talk about Dharma this and Dharma that. I only know about Dharma as it is associated with astrology, and specifically Vedic astrology, the astrology that they use in India, as opposed to the astrology that we use in the West and that you can read about in your newspapers. And how I have taken Dharma from the textbooks and then applied it and learned directly from it is that Dharma is associated with your purpose in life or your passion in life. It's something that when you find your Dharma, the average person will then from that time onwards either very concentratedly or erratically focus a lot of their energies on for the rest of their life, because it touches a chord within them. And this Dharma can be associated with your career, and it may not be. It could be something that's actually non-profit or just helping someone or helping people. It can be anything in the spectrum of human interest and affairs a person's Dharma can be. So in a nutshell, that's what I take Dharma to be. It's your purpose in life, but it's not necessarily your ultimate purpose in life. It just can be a very high purpose in life, a very strong passion that gives you a focus.
Yeah, that's just so fascinating for me, because everything I've read is about find your passion, follow your passion, make money from that passion. And I know people like that. It's, I know with my life journey, I've tried this, I've tried that, which you saw is actually in my chart, right, which just blew me away. But I've known people who found that it's like they know what they're going to do when they're 5. And you think about people like Mozart or, I don't know, these geniuses, and it's just like, that seems to be their Dharma. They hook onto it when they're young, and away they go. So why is that not always the case?
Well, that's very interesting. I really need to do my research on Mozart and Beethoven and Pablo Picasso, all the famous people. And I am going to do that because I am very slowly writing a book called Simplified Vedic Astrology, and that's going to be my Dharma section. But the reason why some people pick up on it early and some later is because in a person's Vedic horoscope, they have this system of working out what is your focus at various periods of your life. And it just so happens that Dharma is associated with the planet Saturn, and there's a Saturn period that lasts for 19 years, and that period will occur differently in everyone's life depending on their exact time of birth. So in my experience, though I can't comment really like on Mozart or Beethoven, in my experience I can look at someone's Vedic horoscope and there it is. It says they will find their Dharma before the age of 11. For me, it said I can't find my Dharma until I was about 38 or 39. I've got other clients, I tell them, listen, get on a good diet because you can't find your Dharma till you're at least 80 years old and you want to be alive for it. And then about a third of people will never get to this Saturn Dharma period because this Saturn Dharma period occurs within a 120-year time frame that then repeats itself. Yeah. So if if you hit your Dharma period, say much after 80, you may never encounter it. But that is not a problem. It doesn't detract from your life, because how I see Dharma, it's like the cherry, or not the cherry, a cherry on top of the chocolate cake. Life is the chocolate cake, and it's not like the absence of Dharma means something is removed from your life or you have a lesser life. It just so happens that for some unknown reason, the fate of your birth just ordained that you were never meant to find your Dharma.
Okay, so what would you suggest to people if they're not in a period of their life where they, or of that 120-year cycle when they find their Dharma? What do they do about that chocolate cake?
Well, I have encountered this many times, and really, the best thing, what I've been able to explain to them, is to tell them to relax it. Because I remember one particular instance, this person, very successful, everything was fine, highly intelligent, motivated, had his own company, good business. But he did say to me that he always recognises that whereas he would look at other people and they'd be motivated to do this with a passion or motivated to do that with passion, he never had that experience. But in no way did he ever felt like there was any absence or failure in his life. His life is fulfilled. He's got grandchildren now, he's got, it's not like there's a problem. Even a person that doesn't go through a full-blown Dharma period can go through little slivers of one anyway. But that's getting into deeper, more exotic astrology. My Dharma is not astrology, because I started learning astrology in 1971 or 1972. And that was way before my Dharma period. But within 6 months of me hitting my Dharma period in around 1987, I all of a sudden discovered the secret of how to tell when the age of Aquarius arrived.
Okay, which is your big thing, right? You mention it a lot of times, that is your passion, that these different astrological ages are what really floats your boat.
That's right. And I have written a book on it, I do videos on it, but I'm not actually even to date treating it like a business. To me, if I was more money orientated, I probably would work out ways of making it, like a vibrant business. But to me, I find it so fascinating learning about how history resonates with the age of Aquarius and then the sub-ages of Scorpio and the age decade, all these things. I can watch the news at night and I can understand why that kind of news is happening now, because of these periods associated with the astrological ages, like the age of Aquarius. I'm transfixed, I'm addicted. But everyone has their own transfixation or their own addiction, depending on what their Dharma is. And I can't say that my addiction, my passion towards the astrological ages is greater than someone else's Dharma, and I don't believe that. I find, because I meet many people and get to see into their lives deeper than the average person, because it's like being an astrologer, you get to roam around in their life and talk about anything and everything, that people, once they have found that passion associated with their Dharma, which is based on the Saturn Dasha basically in their horoscope, that they are full on with this.
So what are some examples in some readings that you've...
Okay, I'll just think of recent ones mostly because at my age, your brain cells don't remember that far back. And
You've done a lot of readings over your time too.
That's right. Yeah. But one recent one was this person, I said to him, wow, it says, you have to have found your Dharma by the age of 11. And he looked at me incredulously.
How old was this gentleman when you...
Actually, I think he was about 10 years younger than me, in his late 50s.
Yeah, right.
And I told him that, look, you have to have experienced your Dharma by the age of 11. And nearly everyone, it's quite a universal response. No matter when I tell them that they should have found their Dharma, they all say, impossible. No, couldn't happen. People refuse to acknowledge, and they can't see in their life, without a structure it seems, that that's when they encounter their Dharma. And what happened with this person, I can't remember whether exactly it was the age of 11 or 12, but just before that, and because the Dharma can be found anywhere in that 19-year period, it doesn't have to begin at the beginning, two very strong things happened. One is that in 1 year he's had multiple experiences of seeing UFOs. And that, he said, that so deeply affected him that he said it's rarely a day in his life ever since that he doesn't think about those multiple sightings of UFOs. And when he talked to his mother once about this, saying he downplayed it, she said no, every day when he was a child, Roger, he would ask her or talk to her about this UFO. But that wasn't the only thing. At about the same time, his father went bankrupt. And he got this overriding feeling that he wanted financial security in his life. And both of those very different things are his Dharma. In other words, he has a bipolar Dharma. And because you don't have to have a singular Dharma. You can have, your Dharma can be a package of more than one. I have the same thing. I have a package Dharma. I've got, my Dharma is one thing, but it's also another thing, a bit more spiritual. And with him, he is a very successful businessman, but his passion is to produce books and videos on esoteric subjects associated, that have been stimulated due to the fact he saw UFOs, which technically should not exist. So that's a good example of Dharma.
So, did he realise that he'd found his Dharma when you explained all of this to him?
No, and very rarely does anyone. I suppose maybe if you're a Mozart, maybe, or they did.
Have you met anyone who, say, like this gentleman, would have found his Dharma early in life, but they haven't been living it out? Or does it kind of leak through regardless?
You get every permutation and combination available. You can get people who can find their Dharma and then reject it. You can get people who will find their Dharma, but then it's like it's too early in their life. They can't indulge in it at that stage, and then they will pick it up again 20, 30 or 40 years later and continue with it. Because everyone's unique. Because one of the things which happened, for example, is that most of the time, from the perspective of Earth, all the planets are going around the Sun in the same direction. But because of the orbital dynamics, often it looks like a planet's going backwards. And I think a lot of people have heard about Mercury retrograde. It's very common out there. If something goes wrong with your computer, Mercury's going retrograde. But Saturn can go retrograde too. And Saturn's the planet of Dharma.
Yeah.
So if a person has their Saturn retrograde, and they hit their Dharma, say, at a young period, Saturn retrograde means that there is delay in the manifestation of this Dharma. So what generally happens is that they'll get an initial hit, or initial input or insight, and they'll have some interest, and then it will seem to have disappeared, and they might think, I no longer have my Dharma. But then, when they get older, it then comes back into orbit, because retrograde implies that this has got to be delayed a little bit. And so then they'll pick it up later in life and continue with it then. So yes, there's every permutation and combination there. In other situations, yes, you can have a situation where someone could find their Dharma and it's destined for them to reject it.
Right. So that's in their chart.
That's right.
You will find your Dharma, but you'll also reject it.
That's right. And because every permutation and combination is there. But as a general rule, you know, if we use the 80-20 law, 80% of people, when they find their Dharma, they will follow it. You know, it's just a straightforward case. And then when those people have got retrograde planets, yes, they will. If they find their Dharma early, then they will, delay it before they actually dive into it. But still, for most people, Saturn is not retrograde, and for most people, they will just encounter or for 2/3 of people, they will encounter their Dharma between birth and the age of 80, say, and so they get to indulge in it. But then you get strange situations like you have.
Yeah. I knew we'd get to this.
He could go in my petri dish of specimens, because I think I've only got one other client that's got his situation where it's in Ross's Vedic horoscope. He's got Saturn, the Dharma planet. It's the planet that is orientated to his house of career and public focus, and it's in the most potent part of his chart, but it's called fallen. It's a difficult placement, and it's, in its most simplified way, you can say that there's something about Ross's Dharma that hurts or injures him. And I remember him recounting recently one of his most dynamic experience. What was that dynamic experience you had on stage?
I directed some visuals for a symphony for the Melbourne Symphony Orchestra. It's called the Environmental Symphony, and we had a famous Australian actor, Jack Thompson, narrated it, and everything went really well. But it's very challenging for my projects to get to to that point. You know, all sorts of things go wrong. And I recall you saying that, my creative journey or my creative road will be covered in nails and tacks. It'll never be a simple journey. And I remember saying, that just sounds so messed up. Is this worth doing? Is this worth pursuing? And you just said to me, well, you can't. You have to. It's your Dharma.
That's right. It's very hard not to. Ross is one of those peculiar people that he cannot help but be addicted to his Dharma, but there is going to be some kind of problem there, but that doesn't mean he doesn't do it. I only have one other client or person I know of that has a similar thing, and every time he contacts me for an update or something, it always comes up about when is his boss going to stop being horrible to him? Because in his horoscope it shows that that part that rules career also rules your boss. And he's got the same thing. The big difference, however, between this gentleman and Ross is that this gentleman, though the same age, he hasn't encountered the Dharma period in his life yet. So he's still floundering, not floundering, but he's still in his life, and he does this and does this and does this. But when you talk to him, he never has a focus down to a point that, oh, right, this is what I want to do. I mean, in olden times, someone's Dharma would be stamp collecting.
Yeah, sure.
Or rock collecting.
Yeah.
Or collecting anything. I mean, all those things. When you hear people, you see someone and they become, all they want to do is knit or croquet, whatever. You'll be most likely, you'd have to say 80% of the chance that's their Dharma. And Dharma doesn't have to be this thing. It's like when people talk about reincarnation, they're always a reincarnation of Cleopatra or Nero or something. No one's ever the reincarnation of the garbage man.
Yeah, I've noticed that.
But it's the same with Dharma. Dharma doesn't have to be this spiritual thing that you were sitting at the feet of Buddha with the incense burning. It can be absolutely mundane. But
pleasure in the most simple thing.
That's right.
Which has this beauty to it, doesn't it?
Well, yeah, I mean, because really, every aspect of life is really a miracle.
Yeah.
And so whatever a person finds in that life, it is their exploration to a deeper level of the miracle of life.
I mean, there's implications to this too, isn't there? Because when you think about the school system, it's like we're supposed to find our career when we're 18 and just know what we're going to do for the rest of our lives. But I mean, these poor 18-year-olds might be floundering around because they're not going to find their Dharma till they're 60 or 70, or may even never find it.
That's right. I mean, to tell the truth, actually, it's not so much Dharma, but it's the same planet, Saturn, actually does dictate actually whether, you hear of people, they go through school, they go to university, there they are, a lawyer, accountant, they've just got their job and career sorted, but not everyone has that luxury. And again, the culprit is Saturn. But in this time, it's not Saturn in Vedic astrology representing Dharma, it's Saturn in Western astrology, and it's ruling time periods, because in Western astrology, Saturn defines your maturity, and you don't leave what you would call astrological youth until around 29 years old, when Saturn has done its first cycle. And just the same way the sun takes a year from the Earth's perspective to go round, Saturn takes about 29 years, and this 29 years is related to maturity. And for some people, they have this Saturn aspect in their Western chart that says that their maturity cannot be attained before 29 when it comes to their vocational career. So that was the case with me.
Yeah. Right.
So a person like that will drop out of university or not persist with their studies or not really find what they want to do, and then it's after the age of 29, it's when they can settle down depending upon where Saturn is located. For some people, it might be money. They stay immature about income or money till they're 29. For other people, it affects relationships. For other people, it affects health. It's not Dharma, but it's kind of like a shadow of Dharma in the Western horoscope. So, but again, it's Saturn's. And Saturn was always revered in olden days because until the telescope, it was the furthest planet.
Yeah, right.
So it was always considered the most wisest of the planets and the most spiritual of the planets. And there's a strong element of truth in that.
And the most mysterious, I guess.
That's right. But in Western astrology, in modern Western astrology, that would go to Neptune. But Neptune was only discovered, 150 years ago. Neptune's there's a planet that defines definition.
Oh, okay. Well, there you go.
What does your life hold for you in your search for passion, purpose and direction? If you would like to know more, just follow the link below.